My TNA Slammiversary 2010 pay-per-view review. The pay-per-view just went off there. And overall, this pay-per-view, other than the first two matches and possibly the AJ Styles and Jay Lethal match, was really nothing to write home about. It was pretty much an average TNA pay-per-view, or at the best, I would say, somewhat average pay-per-view, but mostly a throwaway pay-per-view, because after the first two matches, it really went downhill. The first matchup was, surprisingly, I was really shocked that they started the pay-per-view off with this, was Kazarian versus Kurt Angle. That was actually the opening match on this pay-per-view, and I guess the reason why this might have been the opener is because the whole thing with Kurt Angle's going against, the TNA ranking system. He's starting from bottom, and he's trying to go to the top, and that's the reason why he was the opener of this pay-per-view. That's the only logical thing that could make sense why this was the opener of the pay-per-view instead of what normally is, an X Division style match. And this match with Kazarian and Kurt Angle was very good. Good back and forth action, really enjoyable. Definitely match of the night, which on this pay-per-view, other than two matches, there's really only two matches I would say there's must-see on this pay-per-view, and this is one of them. Just like you expect with Kurt Angle and Kazarian, great stuff in here, good back and forth action, just a very, very enjoyable match, just great opener, great way to start the pay-per-view, and Kurt Angle picks up the victory after Kazarian taps out of the ankle lock in this match, and a 3 3/4 star match, very good way to start the pay-per-view. Then the next matchup was Brian Kendricks versus Douglas Williams for the TNA X Division Championship. And just like the opener, this match was good. Two good back-to-back matches here with Brian Kendrick and Douglas Williams here. You saw some good mat wrestling. You saw some good chain wrestling. You saw some good X Division style wrestling as well. It was one of those types of matches that kind of almost blended all styles into one match. It was just done very good. Very enjoyable match. Liked it a whole lot. Second best match of the night. And Douglas Williams retains the X Division Championship in this match after he hits a tornado DDT to Brian Kendricks in a 3 1/2 star match. Like I said, those first two matches, seems like this pay-per-view is going on to say, maybe this is going to be a good TNA pay-per-view. Because you had, the first opening match with Kurt Angle and Kazarian be very good, and this match was good as well. So two good back-to-back matches, but after this, the pay-per-view pretty much went downhill completely. There was a few parts where it started, going up and improving later on in the show, but after this, you had a few matches that really drug the show down and really hurt the whole overall quality of the pay-per-view. The next matchup was for the TNA Knockouts Championship. This was Roxxi versus Madison Rayne. And before the match, Madison Rayne got on the mic and gave Roxxi a proposition for this match, saying that, I'm putting up the TNA Knockouts Championship, and you're not putting anything up, and, you got all to gain and nothing to lose. And in this match turned into being a career versus TNA Knockouts Championship match. And right before the match started, Madison Rayne hit Roxxi with the microphone, and causing that, Roxxi was busted open within this match very severely in this match. And just after that, it was pretty much nothing more than just a typical women's match, nothing really special, and Madison Rayne picks up the victory. So Roxxi, I guess she's done with TNA. I guess this was just one of those things where Roxxi was coming in there just to do, this thing right here and just do a few appearances, and I guess she's going to either be done with TNA, or this is just something where they're going to have her come back yet again at some point down the line, or she'll just, come back Thursday. We'll have to wait and see what they do there, but most likely Roxxi, she's a very good women's wrestler, but TNA just doesn't seem like they want to use her, and maybe in this way, since they did this, they aren't going to be using her anymore, and a 1 1/2 star match at best. Then the next matchup was probably a match that no one cared about. This was a match that not only the match no one cared about, no one cares about the whole entire feud. This is the Brother Ray versus Jesse Neal match. And at the beginning of this match, before the match even started, or before the match even begun, what you saw was Brother Ray got on the mic. You saw even Devon come out there, and Jesse Neal was in the ring. You saw Shannon Moore come out there as well. And Brother Ray was getting on the mic, trying to, acting like he's apologizing to Jesse Neal. And Jesse Neal, looked like he was accepting this apology. Then they went up the ramp, looked like this was going to be the end of this. Then Brother Ray just attacked Jesse Neal, and then they got in the match. Just when the match started, you didn't see much of anything. it looks like what they're doing here is they're going to be breaking up Team 3D and having Brother Ray and Devon break up and go a singles route, because that's the way they went with this, where after Brother Ray did this, Devon kind of got pissed off and stuff like that, and the match ends when Tommy Dreamer came. You saw him in the crowd, so he distracted Brother Ray, so Jesse Neal picks up the victory there, kind of with the distraction of Tommy Dreamer, and Brother Ray was like, what's going on? What's Tommy Dreamer doing here? And that costed him the match right there. 1.5 stars, nothing really special at all. Then the next matchup was Matt Morgan versus Hernandez, and this match just was god-awful. I would say if there's one match on here that was probably the worst match on this pay-per-view was this match right here. It's just nothing much of anything. The match ends in disqualification. Hernandez wins via disqualification because Matt Morgan threw a ref down in this match. Then Hernandez tried to get revenge on Matt Morgan after that, tried to do this, take him out, and then he hit the referee, and that was the end of that thing. So I don't know if we'll be seeing the continuation of the Hernandez and Matt Morgan feud. Most likely we will, and that's unfortunately that we'll have to see it continue, because these two aren't going to put on any good matches with each other, and it's just something that they need to just end this thing quick as possible and then just go back to the rumored thing that they want to do, and that's having Hernandez and Homicide team back up and form LAX back, because that's the best thing you can do with Hernandez. And Matt Morgan's one of those guys I've never really been a fan of, but it's really a shame that, this guy right here, I'm personally not a fan of him, but a year ago, Matt Morgan is probably like one of the most over guys in TNA, and look where he is at now. He's really done nothing, has done nothing more to progress his career or improve anything as far as his standing in TNA. He was actually has gone down a lot within TNA. This match, went disqualification. If I'll rate it, I guess I'll give it a star, even though it's kind of one of those things you couldn't give it NA and a non-rating to, but I guess I'll give it 1 star. Then the next matchup was Desmond Wolfe versus Abyss and the Monsters Ball match. Now, the thing I got to say about this match is it was a whole lot better than their Sacrifice match. Their Sacrifice match was just pathetic and just god-awful and terrible. This match was an improvement of that. Now, was it a great match? No, but the gimmick of the Monsters Ball and the whole weapons being involved, it did improve the match and improve the quality. Now, the ending of the match, you had the typical type of TNA type of swerve, but it was really kind of a swerve that you weren't really too shocked to probably seeing that they went the route, because it was one of those things that seems just like a Vince Russo type swerve, and it just has his whole fingerprints on it. It's no surprise they went the route. Was Chelsea, Desmond Wolfe was, telling her to hand him the brass knuckles. She didn't hand it to him, threw him to Abyss, and Abyss hit Desmond Wolfe with it, and Abyss picks up the victory, and I would say a 2.5 star match. Like I said, it was a huge step up from their Sacrifice match. Still nothing great, though, but it was still a whole lot better and at least entertaining and somewhat watchable this time around. Then the next matchup was AJ Styles versus Jay Lethal. And this match was going on very good. You saw some good back-and-forth action, a really enjoyable match. Really, the only thing that's going to hurt the quality of this match, and probably the reason why most people are kind of down on this match, is the ending of this match. This ending came out of nowhere. It was one of those poorly booked finishings and endings that TNA tends to do a lot. And this was just an ending that came out of nowhere. The match ends with Jay Lethal hitting a Northern Light suplex to AJ Styles, because AJ Styles was getting put in the figure 4 leg lock from Jay Lethal, and then AJ Styles, he was going for his springboard death drop to Jay Lethal, and he was kind of selling his legs where he couldn't climb up there, so he tripped first, then he tried again. Then he went for it, and Jay Lethal called him into a Northern Light suplex, and Jay Lethal picks the victory up. So, it's good seeing Jay Lethal getting pushed here, but they could have done a whole lot better finish for this match. It was just one of those endings that hurt the match, but still, nonetheless, even with the finish and the stuff before that was enjoyable. It was a good match. I would give it 3 stars. This match and the first 2 matches on this pay-per-view are the only things I would say go out your way to check out this pay-per-view. Especially the first 2 matches and this match are matches I would say go out your way to check. Because this was actually an entertaining match. Just the thing that hurt it was the ending of the match. Just the ending came out of nowhere. Then the next matchup was Mr. Anderson and Jeff Hardy versus Beer Money Incorporated. Now, this was a solid tag match. It was an enjoyable match, but it seemed just like a match that you would expect to see on like a main event of TNA Impact. It didn't seem like a match that should have been placed on a pay-per-view, or it was pay-per-view worthy or anything. Now, gotta say, Mr. Anderson is very over with the crowd, and thankfully they kept him as a face and didn't go the route of having him turn on Jeff Hardy, because I was thinking that could have been one of the routes that TNA would have went, because it seems like they would do something like that. But thankfully they're actually listening to the crowd here, listening to the way, Mr. Anderson's over with the crowd and he's a face still. And Anderson and Jeff Hardy pick up the victory in this match. And, it was a solid tag match, but like I said, it was something you would expect to see just on an Impact. Not something that was pay-per-view worthy, in my opinion. I would give it, 2 1/4, maybe 2.5 stars, because it was at least watchable and some fun stuff within the match. Then the next matchup was Sting versus RVD for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. Now, everyone already knows my opinion on Sting being in the main event of the pay-per-view, and a lot of other people had the same feelings of Sting being in the main event of the pay-per-view. This is just something that doesn't need to happen. Sting was a huge draw back in the 90s. I mean, he's still, I guess, somewhat of a draw, and some people could make the argument that he's somewhat a draw still, but it's one of those things that someone like Sting, someone like, a Hogan, or someone, say, like that, like a Jeff Jarrett, or someone like that, needs to just step out of the main event and, have some younger guys, get pushed in the main event and do that. Because that's the perfect thing you can do as RVD. Because RVD is a former WWE star that someone like him and someone like Jeff Hardy don't have any problem with them being used in TNA. And even Anderson, because, with Anderson, he's one of those guys that didn't get used in WWE properly, and TNA could possibly pull something out of him. And Jeff Hardy and RVD are those two stars that, are liked by the casual fans and liked by the internet and the Smart Mark audience as well. So it's one of those things that can appeal to both crowds. As far as Sting, I'm getting tired of seeing him in the main event. Now, was this a terrible match? Was this like in the category of one of the worst matches I've ever seen? No, but the whole thing with Jeff Jarrett coming in there and getting involved in this match, it did hurt the quality of the match. Because actually, I would say it was going on pretty good. It was at least somewhat watchable match. It wasn't a terrible match between Sting and RVD, but the thing that even made it worse than, having to see Sting in the main event, which I didn't want to see in the first place, was Jeff Jarrett coming out there. He cost Sting the title, and RVD retains the title. So that's the only good thing that came out of this match, was RVD at least retained the title and Sting isn't champion, because I was worried that they would have possibly given Sting the title, because TNA always seems like they want to, push Sting very hard and have him as World Heavyweight Champion. So thankfully they kept RVD as World Heavyweight Champion. And this match I would give, maybe 2 1/4 stars. It just wasn't anything, that good at all. I mean, it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't anything great. It's just one of those, average matches. Nothing too special to talk about with that match. And apparently, I guess, the whole Dixie Carter major announcement. There was no major announcement on this pay-per-view, but I guess before the pay-per-view and earlier today, Dixie Carter kind of toned down the whole thing, where don't make it sound like it's a big surprise, and kind of made it seem like, it's nothing much of anymore. It's kind of just something Dixie Carter and TNA was probably trying to do, just to, hook in more fans to, buy the pay-per-view and go out their way to purchase the pay-per-view just to see some surprise, because there was no surprise, unless TNA counts something like a Tommy Dreamer appearance as a big surprise, which I don't think anyone would count as a big surprise. Overall, I would give this pay-per-view a 6 out of 10, mainly due, in fact, to the first two matches, the Kazarian and Angle match, and the Kendrick and Williams match. And the AJ Styles and Jay Lethal match was good as well. Just the only thing I hated with the Jay Lethal and AJ Styles match was the ending of it. That was the only thing bad about the match. And overall, like I say, give this match a pay-per-view a 6 out of 10. It has at least some things on it that are worth checking out, but more or less is a pay-per-view that you can pass on. Not a pay-per-view that's obviously worth going out your way to purchase. But if you do check some stuff out on here, check the first two matches and check the AJ Styles and Jay Lethal match. And yeah, that's it for my TNA Slammiversary 2010 pay-per-view review. Alright, peace. Pay-per-view off with this was Kazarian versus Kurt Angle. That was actually the opening match on this pay-per-view. And I guess the reason why this might have been the opener is because the whole thing with Kurt Angle's going against, the TNA ranking system. He's starting from, bottom, and he's trying to go to the top, and that's the reason why he was the opener of this pay-per-view. That's the only logical thing that could make sense why this was the opener of the pay-per-view instead of what normally is, an X Division style match. And this match with Kazarian and Kurt Angle was very good. Good back and forth action, really enjoyable. Definitely match of the night, which on this pay-per-view, other than two matches, there's really only two matches I would say there's must-see on this pay-per-view, and this is one of them. Just like you expect with Kurt Angle and Kazarian, great stuff in here, good back and forth action, just a Very, very enjoyable match. Just great opener, great way to start the pay-per-view. And Kurt Angle picks up the victory after Kazarian taps out of the ankle lock in this match in a 3 3/4 star match. Very good way to start the pay-per-view. Then the next matchup was Brian Kendricks versus Douglas Williams for the TNA X Division Championship. And just like the opener, this match was good. Two good back-to-back matches here with Brian Kendrick and Douglas Williams here. You saw some good mat wrestling. You saw some good chain wrestling. You saw some good X Division style wrestling as well. It was one of those types of matches that kind of almost blend my TNA Slammiversary 2010 pay-per-view review. The pay-per-view just went off there. And overall, this pay-per-view, other than the first two matches and possibly the AJ Styles and Jay Lethal match, was really nothing to write home about. It was pretty much an average TNA pay-per-view, or at the best, I would say, somewhat average pay-per-view, but mostly a throwaway pay-per-view, because after the first two matches, it really went downhill. The first matchup was, surprisingly, I was really shocked that they started to blend all styles into one match. It was just done very good. Very enjoyable match. Liked it a whole lot. Second best match of the night. And Douglas Williams retains the X Division Championship in this match after he hits a tornado DDT to Brian Kendricks in a 3 1/2 star match. Like I said, those first two matches, seems like this pay-per-view is going on to say, maybe this is going to be a good TNA pay-per-view. Because you had, the first open